I would, want to start something new and then just try to poke every hole in it as possible, find everything that can go wrong, play devil's advocate on it. And then just like delayed you. And you realize no matter how much planning you did, no matter how many things that you tried to work out, when you start something, it never works out well. Mm-hmm. So then I kind of, once I got that under my belt, it was like, well, let's try this. Let's just get it out there because I do believe in it. It does pass the test of like, it's staying true to my family name and our tradition. And I think it's going to kind of catapult us through the future and get it out there. Let it make its mistakes, see what, and then you could really see almost in real time what the problems are. And then you constantly refine, fill those potholes, look at the angles, see what works, see what doesn't work, and you modify kind of on the fly. And then before you know it, you have a system in place that's really kind of humming. So, number one, always stay true to yourself. If you don't know who you are, and this goes across every industry and business, if you don't know who you are, your customers don't know who you are. Mm-hmm. Never being afraid to be bold. Never being afraid to kind of get your teeth kicked in a little bit, because that's going to happen every day when you're an entrepreneur, no matter if things are going good or bad. And then just not stopping, man. You cannot have a pause button, especially in the beginning when you're just grinding away. I mean, mm-hmm. The first 3 or 4 years of running this place, I didn't listen to my radio. My car radio didn't even turn on the way home from work, on the way to work. It's constantly racking your brain. How can I do better? What do I need to do different? How do I stay true to the roots of what we are, but then, get on the social media and take it to the next level. So you just have to, you have to be conditioned to running through walls every single day and just not mm-hmm. being afraid of, realizing you're going to learn more from your failures than you are your successes.
Absolutely.
I hope I answered your question.
No, you did, and it's so interesting because a lot of what you said are maybe some of the key ingredients that we hear from a lot of small business owners. And I want to zoom in a little bit on, what you said about staying true to what you believe in. Because I think as entrepreneurs, as small business owners, there are oftentimes situations or inflection points where we do have a choice to make. Are we staying true to what we believe in and where we want to take the organization? Or are we potentially, chasing an opportunity or going in a potential direction because someone else is saying that we need to go in that direction? And I can imagine for you, Jim, over the course of, let's call it the last 15 to 20 years, as we've seen so much expansion and growth in the West Loop, and e-commerce has taken off, and you talk about just the complete transformation of food and dining with Uber Eats and delivery and all of this technology that's just completely shape-shifting your industry. Maybe speak to one or two of those moments where you really did think about potentially taking the business in a different direction. And how did you sit with that decision and what did you weigh it against?
Well, taking the business in a different direction was fully with the sandwiches. A lot of people, especially our newer customers, might not realize when we say we've been around for 83 years, while very true, the sandwiches are 14 years old out of the 83 years, mm-hmm. So that's what I had added on, because I felt like, man, we're in this really cool neighborhood. And this is West Loop 15 years ago. So,
right.
But there was still a lot of people down here. It was a cool, gritty neighborhood with so much character. And, the wholesale and distributors down here still constant traffic. And I just felt like, man, we got to get people in this store. They have to see everything that's in this building, how cool and original it is, and just has baked into the walls. It's up to new people. When I was a kid and somebody would come in here and ask for a quarter pound of cheese cut off the form and a bag of pasta, my Uncle Paul would be like, what are you going to do with a quarter pound of cheese? Like, what about tomorrow? Uh-huh. And they were just used to selling in like forms of cheese and stuff like that, where I saw opportunity, like sell them a quarter pound of cheese. You can make retail prices off of it. It doesn't have to be wholesale prices, which is, pennies for profit. So I always kind of
Mm-hmm.
saw the opportunity to like get people in the store and putting the sandwiches in addition to when we first started to take the business a different direction. Never in my wildest dreams did I expect that I would be running a sandwich shop. We would phase out wholesale and not be selling to restaurants and delis and pizza places. But it fell into that because of the rise and success of the sandwich shop.
Mm-hmm.
Once the sandwiches really kind of took off and it coincided with the neighborhood taking off, for a while, I was literally throwing good money after bad because I would make money selling sandwiches, but then I would tie it up and buy pallets of tomatoes and olive oil and just like do what we have always done. And
Right.
it just didn't make sense. Now I had a lot of trepidation and anxiety about cutting off the wholesale aspect of our business because that was our family tradition. I mean, that's what great grandpa started. That's what we were known for.
Mm-hmm.
Though the sandwiches were popular, you know, it was popular in the West Loop and it was like all of Chicago knew us as distributors. But I knew I had to do it. And one day I just hit it off like the light switch and I let all our inventory finally drain out. And, you know, customers would call for their regular orders and be 4 or 5 items into the order. And I'd be like, I don't have any of that stuff. I don't have a truck anymore. We don't make deliveries. If you ever need a sandwich and you're on Randolph Street, swing by, but we're just not in that business anymore. And personally, it was a lot for me to kind of deal with, but business wise, it's when it just took off because then it was money in, money back into the sandwich business and improve your equipment and improve your team that you're hiring around you and just focusing on that. And that's like, that was one of those leaps out of the nest that I had a lot of, I was very worried and I had a lot of like kind of personal issues with kind of letting that go, but it was kind of, cutting off the arm to save the body type of deal. And that's what allowed the business to flourish. And then once I saw that gave me a lot of confidence. And it was like, let's just roll with this thing. And you'd spoken about the third-party platforms of Uber Eats, and Postmates, and Grubhub. I started with all of those guys as well, and they'll sell you a lot of sandwiches, and your gross numbers are great. And then you start to understand like their fees and what it takes away from you, and then you start to feel like you're working for them. So I reviewed this stuff and realized I need to give my customers the same experience, but order directly from me and like cut out the middleman. I was used to being the middleman as a distributor and realized that guy causes everybody's margins to kind of be off a little bit. Right. So I got to work quickly on, providing our own platform, going right to our website, jpgraziano.com, to order sandwiches. Jumped off the platforms of third-party people. Customers would call up and be like, hey, you're not on Grubhub. What's going on? How do I get a sandwich? And I'm like, talk to me or order on our website. And then they become customers, directly through you. And I was able to show those 30 third-party platforms when they weren't happy that I jumped off. I could make less sandwiches, but make more money because all of it's coming to me. And again, that's just by trying something, getting it out there, always constantly refining, see what works, see what doesn't work, and wanting to move forward. So it's constant evolution. This place has been in the best place that it's been in, kind of year over year for the last couple of years, which I'm very proud of. But then it also like freaks me out every day, right? Like, cause now you have to maintain that. So that's the fire that still burns to make sure that you're always on top of your game. And it's just, like I said before, man, as long as you would stay true to what you are, who you are, go ahead and make those new moves and follow those up. You can't just let it sit out there and, not be examined. I'm always thinking of new ways to improve, even off of things that are very successful here. And it's, just never stopping and always never being afraid to kind of look in the mirror and saying, all right, this is what we need to fix up and just moving forward.
Yeah. And as well, you've had such a consistent, we'll call it customer experience. I think a lot of that has to do with your storefront and how, it hasn't changed much, although it has changed recently with the addition of the side window, which I want to talk about. But also the customer experience in terms of the way they engage with you all. So tell us a little bit about the, Graziano experience walking into the shop, because it is real. And then I also maybe want to talk about how that's been, impacted by the recent pandemic. How has the customer experience been impacted, or how have you kind of navigated through the last few months? Because that physical touch point of walking into the shop and saying hello, and most of the time shaking your hand, is such a big part of the buying experience. How have you accounted for that?
So yeah, and it means a lot to me that you would phrase it like that. Kind of the Graziano experience. It's when you come here. I don't care if you've been coming here for 30 years or if you just moved into the neighborhood and you kind of stumbled upon us and obviously and walked into our doors for the first time. You're my guy. You chose to come to us. And my father would always make me very, very conscious of that. And even when it was wholesale stuff, there's a lot of places to buy this stuff, and people literally think of you first. And when they walk in your door, you treat them like you're the only customer that you have to take care of for the day. And it's a genuine appreciation and respect that you chose to do business with us. So, how are you not going to be close with that person? And it's really, so much of our success stuff, it feels nice because people want to give me a lot of pats on the back. Really, it's just me paying attention to the generations before me and how I got to see my dad and my grandpa and my Uncle Paul and my Uncle Larry talk to our customers and treat our customers and being, the salesman on the street when we were in wholesale. You'd go see a customer, you would be there for an hour, 45 minutes. You would talk about what's going on in their family and how's this guy doing? And last time I was here, your wife wasn't feeling well. Is she feeling better? Or your daughter got married or had a baby. And then the last 15 minutes is the order. I've always watched genuine relationships be built over cases of pasta and tomatoes. And to me, that's what makes you different, right? Every industry you're in, what makes you unique? What makes you different? How do you separate yourself from everybody else? To me, that's what was different here. We had customers would come over to our house for holidays, man, or go to their house for dinner or spend a weekend over at their house just because one day they walked into JP Graziano and started buying cheese from us. And then fast forward a few months or years later, and we're really good friends. So it was very important to me to hold on to that because that's what we were. So when you come in, we try to remember your name and remember your sandwich, which is even more important. And know what's going on with, from first dates here all the way to catering their child's first birthday party. So that, the personal relationship is the bedrock of what JP Graziano is. And then, kind of having the personality that I have, that's really easy for me because I love them kind of talking and kind of going on. So, it's a very important aspect for me to kind of carry over of who we are. And then when this, when the COVID hit, that obviously changed things here for a while. We had closed down I think it was the first 2 weeks of March, kind of right away. I just felt like I needed to hit pause here for a little bit, step back to assess the situation, get a plan together to move forward. And that included, people not walking in the store. And when we started, it was, first 2 or 3 weeks, we did delivery only. And then we started taking orders, but it was like, I had to get people to call in their order or order online first before they got here because they weren't going to be able to walk in and we weren't going to be able to kind of just run under our old system. And that presented a ton of challenges, and we're not like I know I'm going to go to Graziano's on Thursday type of deal. It's like you wake up or you're walking down the block and you're like, I'm going to go grab a sandwich. So it was like kind of reconditioning my customers to plan ahead and think about us. And, the construction guys across the street, telling them to order online, it could be a little bit of a problem here and there, but it presented the new way we had to do business. For this stuff, it's not like we could kind of monkey around with it. It was, you had to really stick by the book, be serious for customers' safety, our safety, and health all around. Yeah. So we just kept kind of tinkering with the system to make it more user friendly while filling in for the guidelines. And then you touched on it briefly. Once we've gotten this new walk-up window open, that's changed things dramatically. For months, I was kind of buried in the office, just answering phones, just printing out orders from that would come in online, and not see any of my customers, but not even see them when they would come here to pick up, because my GM was taking care of like handing out the sandwiches. And even though we were busy and like really doing well, to my surprise, especially with all this going on, I wasn't feeling good, because like I didn't get that interaction with all my customers, and I couldn't talk to them and say how you doing, or give them a handshake or a hug, and just like what we're used to. So even though business was going well personally, it was really affecting me and my sister and even my staff. Our good customers know our staff by name as well. So we all kind of felt it, but we did get this window installed that really had been planned for a long time. You know about that. A lot of my customers know about that. We were going to open up a night walk-up window and expand our hours into the nighttime, and that's what the whole window was designed around. And then it just so happened like this is the perfect thing to use during how we have to operate now. And I am happily the one that runs it, and I get to see a ton of customers every day and have my conversations with them. And I'm a lot happier guy, because it's, not only is it as close as to what we're used to of how we normally run our business, it is, it's a way to get that Graziano experience back and have face-to-face interaction with your customers, check in with how they're doing. And I think that really helped morale all around on the inside, for me and my team. And it's been great.
Yeah, I love it. And I love you just taking us through kind of the journey of the last few months. And I know that, 2020 has not been the only kind of trying time that you and your business have had to see. I want to maybe just, I want to put a pin in one thing, and then I want to go deeper on another. But you had talked about the Graziano kind of experience, right? The client experience, if you will. And it's very real, and it's very unique. You've got a lot of places here in the West Loop that are trying to create a great experience. They're doing it through, their menu, they're doing it through their staff, they're doing it through their physical surroundings, but there's a certain intangible component to walking into Graziano's, and it has to do with familiarity. It has to do with consistency. It has to do with a tie to, family, and some of the same even senses and smells when you walk in there that you're just so nostalgic about. I had a very similar experience at a small Italian deli in the suburbs growing up, when my grandfather would drive out to the suburbs to visit our family. And my twin sister and I would get in the car. He wouldn't even say hello to the family, because he knew he had to pick us up, and we had to go to this deli to pick up all of the antipasto for the meal, right? Like the hors d'oeuvres, the appetizers. And we would walk into this deli, and I don't know how he managed it, but we managed to do this for like 45 minutes or an hour. And he would walk around this deli and talk to everybody. And we would just be tasting things left and right, and talking to people, and he would be showing off his grandkids. And 45 minutes later, 30 minutes before we're about to eat with our family, we would be absolutely stuffed. He would nearly forget to purchase things for the rest of the family. And, he did, and we would go home. And before we would get in the house, he would kind of pull my twin sister and I in close, and he would say, "Don't tell him how much we ate inside of there." And it was just such a unique experience, because I can go back to that point and I can absolutely, stand in that shop with my grandfather and my sister. I know what it smells like. I know what the artichoke hearts tasted like when you pulled them out of the jar. And it just was very unique. And to know that you're providing that for families, traditions of families, is something extremely unique. And I want to congratulate you for that. And again, doing it in such a hot area of Chicago where, businesses are just being asked to innovate and turn over and start something new. You've kept it the same. And that's been, I think, special, not just for your family, but mainly for the folks that visit you. So again, congratulations. It's really something unique.
It's important. A ton of it has to do with the Italian culture, like that story you just said, I went through as well. I mean, it's kind of how we were raised, but especially in food, when you tap into somebody's childhood memories, That's the
Yes.
ultimate grand slam, man. When somebody like, comes in, orders a sandwich, sit down, has a sandwich, and they kind of like get that, especially when you could sit inside and you get that full experience, and they kind of like call me over to the table, or I walk over to see how they're doing. When they start with the words, man, when I was a kid and my grandma used to, that's it.
Yes.
They are a customer for life. And
Yes.
and again, it's really not, it's not my pat on the back to take. It's what I saw here, coming here all the time, what was established in front of me, and me being just smart enough to know this is a pillar of how we do business. It's not always about the things you're willing to change. It's about recognizing the things you need to hold on to as well. My father would let me try anything I wanted in this business. Not because, well, one of the biggest reasons was his father wouldn't let him try anything. It was, my dad grew up under very different terms than me with this business. This is what you're going to do for the rest of your life, if you like it or not. We don't need your ideas. Bring your muscles, pick up these cases, do what we do, say what we say. So when my turn came around, my dad, like most people and kind of evolved through generations of family, he didn't want me to have the same experience he did, though my dad was very kind of strict in what could and couldn't be done. He was willing to let me kind of fly on my own, and I'll give him the credit because he raised somebody with a square head on their shoulders. I never came to my dad and said, let's turn this into a bar. Let's turn this into a nightclub. To me, it was, we sell to a bunch of delis. We have the best stuff. It's a natural extension for our business. He always knew anything I wanted to try was for the strength and longevity and the overall success of the business. And I was never going to come and say, let's change this all around. While things weren't necessarily working internally, we could shift gears, stay true to who we are, and take that next step forward and not just do what you do, say what you say. We can be different as long as you're rooted in tradition. That's what I think was absolutely the most important parts of what we did to kind of hold on to what we are and then springboard into the future. And be able to and stay relevant with world-class restaurants and now world-class hotels around us. The more it gets built up, we don't kind of get left behind. I make sure I stay very relevant, like within the neighborhood and social media and stuff like that. But we're the last standing old school place that you can go to. And it's Chicago and it's Midwest. People love that stuff. And they had experiences like you growing up, and a lot of them, their families came here even way before sandwiches. And I have people who've owned, come in for sandwiches, and they tell me, and they're with their kids, and they tell their kids and me at the same time, this is where Grandpa used to take me when I was your age. That's it, man. That's, to me, that's
incredible.
I, put it on a shirt. I'm done. And they completely made my commercial for me,
No, I love that. And we've got some folks in chat that are just, a few of them are lighting up as much as I am about some of the things that you're saying, particularly around this concept of tapping into childhood memories through food. A lot of people are commenting on that as well. You said something that I think is just so important: the ability to recognize what not to change, and not being hyper focused on constant evolution and change. And in today's world, we all know it's really, really easy to feel like you've got to be one thing one day and wake up and be a totally different thing the next day. And, I would argue that our greatest challenge as entrepreneurs, especially as small businesses, where if you wanted to, Jimmy, you could wake up tomorrow and go 100% wholesale or 100% Uber Eats, close the brick and mortar, because that's what everybody else is doing. And the challenge is to stay true to, the core, the fabric, the DNA of your company, that if you let it go, you don't have anything. And for you, it is that in-person experience. For you, it is tapping into the nostalgia of the eating experience and, knowing, the person behind the counter. I just think it's so special. And again, most of these new businesses don't have the benefit of 80 plus years of that. We've got a couple of questions in the chat box that I want to put forward because they're really good. There's a lot of folks that are really enjoying the discussion. So the first one's around, how, any ideas that you have on how your audience or your community can share your story and continue to be strong advocates for your business. I think that's an interesting question. Have you been able to share your story through your community in any way? And I'm sure word of mouth is like number one there, but are there any other channels maybe that you're using to share your story?
Word of mouth is always the biggest for us, right? Because we were always, I was always told, like, if you provide a good experience and you're running a good shop, those people that come here go tell their families, they go tell their friends, right? And then they come back with 2 friends, and then that new friend comes back with a friend. That's the best testimonial anybody could give any business. To me, it doesn't matter the industry that you're in. So obviously we highly rely on that. And then to me, it's fully taking advantage of social media. That's the biggest, widest reach that you're going to get. I stay very active on that. And it's also engaging every single customer. People are taking their time out to like write something to you, send you a message, send you a picture of what they got. Talk to them, thank them. You know what I mean? Like, again, it goes back to that first lesson. If people don't walk through our doors, we don't put shoes on our feet. Without your customers, you're nothing. And I don't like, to me, that's the funnest part. It's not like, I don't even feel that like that's part of my job. That's like, oh man, this guy came in, he loved his sandwich. He put up this post about it. Let me share it. Let me, shoot him a message back and thank him. And that's just how like kind of everything organically grows. Specific to the neighborhood, I really, to me, it's very important. Any new business that opens up around here, we have a long-standing tradition of welcoming them with a couple trays of sandwiches and tell them welcome to the neighborhood, introduce myself, get to know their staff. They start coming in, they become customers of ours, and let them know, like, it's important to me, while this neighborhood is a distant memory of what it used to be. And I say that, it kind of makes me sad, but it's important to me that I'm like the guy with the torch that could link today's people to the past. That's how business was done back in the day here, right? Yeah. People around you were your competition, but they were also the reason you were successful. Like if the fruit and vegetable guy was busy across the street, and the fish market was busy, and the butchers were busy, we were busy too, right? So like everybody was a very big symbiotic relationship, everybody with the same goal, rowing in the same direction. When we started to get all new neighbors, and I'm telling you, every single address got a new neighbor down here. Instead of freaking out, I was like, well, I'm going to show these people how we do it on Randolph, and Stephanie Eisert comes in, and I go say, what's up? And here's some sandwiches for you and your crew. And I want to make you feel like we're in this together. And if you're doing well, you're going to bring a ton of people to the neighborhood. I'm going to benefit off that. That's going to bring somebody else to the neighborhood. And if we run this neighborhood like it was back in the day, we can all be successful. It's not about trying to be, oh man, another place is opening up. I hope they don't go there instead of me. Listen, if you're good enough, you're going to be on people's rotation, and there's enough volume of people down here to where if you're picking up people 1 or 2 times a week and you're on somebody's constant rotation, it's everybody's got to get a piece of the pie, man. And if everybody gets a piece of the pie, this neighborhood is not going to be a flash in the pan and totally flip over. It's going to be here for a long time to come. So, I would say number one, word of mouth, because that's the biggest testimonial anybody can give. Saying very active and engaging on social media. And then old school, go meet people, shake their hand, introduce yourself, and welcome them to the neighborhood. It works.
Yeah. We were just talking about this as a team this morning, that, when people talk about building brand or, spreading the word, they say, okay, so what channels are you using? You've got word of mouth, you've got social media, you've got print and traditional advertising. But I think one of the most underrated channels for building brand and really increasing impact and success is building community. And that community doesn't have to at all be tied to your products or selling more of your products or building the biggest building or stomping on your competition. It means just bringing people together. And this platform, for example, is just completely wide open because we absolutely love bringing people to the table to have these discussions. 80% of what you just talked about, and I will tell you, if there are two completely different businesses out there, it is, the grocery and deli business and consulting services. You and I couldn't have two more opposite businesses. But I have learned so much from you today in this discussion that is directly applicable to the way that we, sell our services, the way that we, create a customer experience, the way that we differentiate, the way that we tap into nostalgia and history. It's all so important. And to me, that is about building community. And I believe that there should be no real definition or dimension around that, as much as you are just completely open and welcome to everybody around you. So it's just so great to hear. And as a resident of the West Loop for almost 20 years, it's also just when you talk about, the turnover that you see and the fact that you're still showing up with a couple platters of sandwiches, that is something pretty unique, absolutely unique. We have another question that I would love to ask from the audience. This is a really great one. Jessica, thanks so much for joining us again. Your sandwich is on the way. Jessica promised that if she was the first person to register, or she made me promise that if she was the first person to register for the webinar, that I would send her a sandwich. So I'm definitely going to get you a sandwich here sometime soon, Jessica. Thank you. She asked, and it's a good question. She talks about tapping into childhood memories through food. She loves that. She said, I'm trying to convey that value of tradition and community with food through her kids. She asked, is this happening with the next generation? And Jimmy, I know you've got some kids, so maybe through your family or just in general, are you seeing this kind of nostalgia and tradition hold through future generations?
I am. I would say the outlook on that is bright, brighter than you may think. It's not. It might not necessarily be as strong as it was. We've kind of seen our oldest generation of customers not fully phase out, but definitely slow down. Because they're kind of reliant on their son or daughter or grandson or daughter picking them up, driving them into the city. You can't park like you used to. It's a little bit difficult, to work your way around a neighborhood than it used to be. But I'm telling you, man, I mean, I have multiple customers a day that come here with their kids, that tell their kids, your grandpa or their dad used to take them down here. It's definitely strong in my family. My daughter just turned 8. She knows, 9 years old, she's going to get to come down to work with dad on Saturdays. It's very important to me to kind of extend that tradition. I would say that it might not be as strong as past generations. It's there. You might have to look for it a little bit more, but the people who do it are so proud and so strong about kind of passing that down and being conscious about it, that I feel like, that next generation coming up that's just going to be very normal to them, and they're going to carry that on. And then you also got a lot of great, daughters and sons and granddaughters and grandsons that come down and pick up stuff for grandma or grandpa, especially around the holidays for us, because you get in so many holiday specialties, from like dry cured bacala to Italian panettone and tarone, that it has to be on the Christmas Day table from Graziano, no questions asked. It's been that way for 50, 60 years. And that means so much to me that I still bring that stuff in for, a small number of customers, because if they're going to keep the tradition alive, I am so happy to be the one to provide that. So it is there. It really peaks up around the holidays and stuff like that. People really hold on to those traditions. But it makes me feel like it's not going to just be completely lost.
Love that. Incredible. I think we have time for one more question. This is another good one. And it's actually from YouTube. So we got a question from YouTube, and it's around your team. So how have you manage your team over the course of the last several months? I mean, you talked to back in March, kind of having to take a pause, but how have you led your team through the uncertainty of the last several months?
I think to lead any team, global pandemic or not, you just have to be the one in front leading. I'm here every day. I never have asked any employee to do anything that I haven't done myself for years and years and years. You show them that, we are all in this together. This isn't me sitting on top and you guys are going to do the work and, hey, I'll be in the back of the office and let me know when the day's done. It's jumping. I'm elbow to elbow with these guys. And so to me, it's very important to lead from the front, not from the top. If you're not willing to do something, how are you going to ask somebody else to do it? Mm-hmm. So number one is communicating to them now, especially specifically with this, is fully communicating to them that their health and safety is my number one priority. If people start getting sick here, we're not going to have anything to come back to. When we first shut down, I sent them home. They got paid in full, no questions asked. I never even batted an eye about it. At that time, the relief from the federal government wasn't even talked about in the beginning of March. I didn't do that because I felt like, we're going to get that money back. I did that because that's the right thing to do. If these guys don't work as hard as they do, I don't have what I have, right? This is, we're all in this together. And, just kind of going back to those old philosophies. My dad would say in any business deal, if you're doing business with someone else, or when it comes to your own employees and team, one hand washes the other and both hands wash the face. Everybody needs to win if something's going to be successful. If one party wins, the other party's not happy, and it's probably not going to be sustainable. And in the end, it's not going to work out well. So to me, jump right in, elbow to elbow, lead from the front, make sure, getting down here at 9 years old, there was every job there was to do, I did. And then how are you going to teach somebody how to do that position if you don't know how to do it? And if they don't do well, it's not necessarily a reflection on them. It's probably more of a reflection on me that I didn't teach them well how to do something. And then finally, it's like, and then at a point, you have to sit back and let them be who they are. Everybody's personality has to come out. I don't want to make people feel they have to talk in a certain way, act a certain way here. Your personality is going to come out because when your personality comes out, it's very natural. Now, I do have to teach you the backbone of what we are, the pillars of what our success is, why those things are so important. But, as long as we get to the destination that we need to get to, no matter what it may be, you can kind of take your own journey to get there as long as you're following certain protocols that need to be to be followed. And as long as the final product is what it needs to be, I'm going to let you be who you are to get there. And, when things don't go well, I get here earlier, I leave later. I show them that, I'm here. We were in a really good spot a while ago with, we still have full employment, but I'm saying like when my mom was here and stuff like that, even my niece was here, everybody was kind of getting a day off rotation and, really enjoying that. And then that stopped. So now it's back to all hands on deck. Everybody's in, no days off. We'll get on the other side of it again. And, I get here early, I leave late. I try to set the tone every day. And I think it's also important not to, because early on I did this and it didn't work out well. We kind of like bounce up and down with the success or, a really good day or a really bad day. Stay in the middle, right? Like you don't bounce up every day with if you did really good or if you did really bad. Just be consistent. As long as it works out each month, each quarter, each year, you're going to be doing well. It's about, I don't care how many sandwiches I sell today. I'm coming back to do it again tomorrow. So you're not going to make it or break it in one day. Just be consistent and show your team that you're in it with them. And it's, hiring is the hardest part of running a business. Give me any other issue in the world and I'll take it on because I've seen it all. When you're mixing personalities and, people's livelihoods, how they're providing for their family, maintaining, building, and growing a team is the most difficult aspect of running a business, bar none. And when you get those really good people, you hold on to them tight, you pay them well, and you let them know we're in this together, and share your success. They need to feel good about how hard they worked as well.
I love that. I mean, you talk about the key ingredients, and I think you just laid them all out there. I just hear throughout, everything that you're saying, this word that has really come up in a lot of these discussions with small business owners, and particularly in this time of such volatility: consistency. And for those of you who are in the Zoom room, I just put a picture up of, and this is proof of Jimmy's consistency. This picture was taken today at about 12:05 in the afternoon. Norm and I walked up to grab our muffaletta, and there Jim was, with a mask on his face at their new window facing east on Peoria and Randolph. And, he's serving his customers the way that he has for many, many years, and the way that his family has for many, many years. Now, this picture also is pretty cool because it shows the very unique and brand new side entrance, which was the original entrance, if I'm not mistaken, many years ago. So to come full circle with that is pretty special. So I want to just close with a couple of comments. We have one from the chat box, and this comes from Brian. Brian didn't have a question. He said, just a compliment. He said, the quality of the JP Graziano product is only matched by their generosity to their customers. It smacks you in the face when you walk in the door. And that I don't know if he's talking about the smell of the jardinera or the customer service, but I think he's actually talking about the latter. I think he's talking about the feeling that you get when you walk into your doors. It is unmistakable. And it's not only something that can be reproduced in the service industry or in restaurants. It can also be produced in business, in relationships, in consulting services, in anything. It's a very, very unique feeling. And we've got a couple comments about just how unique the Graziano experience is. And so I want to share those with you and our community. I also just want to close in thanking you, Jim. At the beginning, I called you a mentor, and I don't think I've ever told you that before, but on previous episodes, I talk about over the course of the last 6 months, as we've been going through all of this together, as a city, as a country, as small business owners, myself and my team we've really gravitated towards a few folks in the local community that have just shown up every day. And you're one of them that I physically see outside of your shop in the morning when I'm either walking to work or I'm grabbing my coffee. It's every single morning. And there's such a solace that I take in knowing that you're turning your lights on and we're turning ours on. And it's a brotherhood that I absolutely appreciate and enjoy. And for that, I do consider you a mentor, because knowing that every day walking by you, that you're going to be turning the lights on, you're going to be working as hard as you have been for years and years and years, is a little bit of the kick in the butt that I need to say, you got a long road ahead of you. And I want to thank you for that. It's unsaid, it's completely unsaid, but it really means a lot to myself and Norm and the entire team. And we just want to thank you for your leadership and for being a part of the community.
That means a ton. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So for those of you who are with us, still with us, we will be going live every week, every Thursday. We typically go live at 3:00. Jim had to close the shop up, so we went a little bit late today. We love the fact that we had so many people joining us today in Zoom as well as on LinkedIn. We'll be here every Thursday at 3:00. As we mentioned last week, we're really looking forward to our September series around the future of learning. You can find all information about our future webinars at thoughteum.com/live. You can also register to join live. For everybody who joined, thank you so much for stepping into the discussion. For Jim, thank you again for your leadership and for creating the space for us all to learn from you today. And we hope everybody has an incredible rest of the afternoon. We'll see you all here next week at 3:00. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.